Okay, so remember that they are changing my voice. This video is about Hosea. I'm going to go over Hosea chapter 1 with a brief introduction. Okay, in order to understand Hosea, you have to look at things in terms of reality. If you want a kind of theater arts explanation, psychology, or arguments that are more kind of based on details that I consider unimportant, then you probably want to listen to somebody else's explanation. If you want the reality of it, the harsh reality, it might offend some people, then you're at the right place. Okay, so when we see that Hosea is talking about the so-called Jews, he's actually talking about people who obey God, whether they're Jew or Gentile. And that's part of why Christ comes back to clarify that. Amos was saying the same thing to the point where I think it's Britannica pointed out that he believed in a universal moral order that transcended national interests. So when Christ in the New Testament says that the people who obey God's commands are his family, right? Remember the Jews, right? The tribe of this, the tribe of that, the nation. These people are like one big family, a collection of tribes that are related to each other, right? The descendants of Abraham, the descendants of Jacob, what have you. And he's saying that doesn't matter, that those who obey the commands of God. So therefore, it becomes about the whole human race. Because some Jews, weren't as religious as other Jews during the time of Hosea in the story. Okay? Just like some people in the human race are atheists and, polytheistic and so on and so forth. Okay. So you need to understand that before we begin. This is not about the Jews. A lot of Jews want to make it about the Jews. No offense to the Jews, but this is about the whole human race. And that's part of why, even though I'm not a Jew, I don't go to a synagogue, I don't go to any churches, but I'm still Christ. Because the throne is established through righteousness, not flesh. Okay, now a lot of Jews are friendly people, nice people, a lot of kind old Jewish women. Okay, I'm not trying to bash the Jews. I need to explain this correctly. Now, if you are a Jew and you want to hear Jews explain it, by all means, you're more than welcome to listen to my explanation, but it might bother you a little bit. I want to give you the heads up, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm trying to just do God's work. That's what I'm here for. Okay. Hosea 1. The word of the Lord came to Hosea, son of Beeri, during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and during the reign of Jeroboam, son of Jehoash, king of Israel. Hosea's wife and children. Listen very carefully. A key part of Hosea is about sexual immorality, and it's also about people worshiping false gods, which is connected to sexual immorality. The so-called gods in Egypt and Greece and Rome and everywhere else, they almost always had consorts, right? Zeus and Hera, Odin and Freya, and on and on and on and on and on. So what we see here is God is going to tell him to take a promiscuous wife to make a statement. Not because people are supposed to marry promiscuous women. Okay? When the Lord began to speak through Hosea, the Lord said to him, "Go marry a promiscuous woman and have children with her. For like an adulterous wife, this land is guilty of unfaithfulness to the Lord." So he married Gomer, daughter of Diblam, and she conceived and bore him a son. When the Lord said to Hosea, "Call him Jezreel, because I will soon punish the house of Jehu for the massacre at Jezreel, and will put an end to the kingdom of Israel." It's just like with the wordplay, right? That's a form of wordplay that they're propounding right there in the story. They're saying, call him Jezreel. Why? What does this have to do with Jezreel? Because he will punish the house of Jehu for the massacre at Jezreel. So you have to kind of read between the lines and say, what are they getting at? And in this instance, it's explained to you, but that's not always the case. And again, he said that his purpose was to put an end to the kingdom of Israel. Now, there's going to be things in this book of Hosea that are going to confuse you. It's going to say things like the restoration of Israel and stuff like that. It's not talking about in this world. We see that in Galatians 4. It's talking about somewhere else, right? Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. So you have to go to the source of the words and not try to find your life in this story. It's overkill by Luke 23, Isaiah 57, Isaiah 24, Isaiah 34. It's clear that I'm right about this very key issue of that I disagree with a lot of people about. Okay? I'm right, they're wrong. And they absolutely refuse to debate me because they know that Isaiah 5 makes it clear that God is known and exalted by his righteous acts. So if they interpret the Bible in a way that's not righteous and just and fair to everybody, to the truest meaning of the term, then they are worshiping the devil and interpreting as a devil. Okay. In that day I will break Israel's bow in the valley of Jezreel. Gomer conceived again and gave birth to a daughter. Then the Lord said to Hosea, call her Lo Ruhamah, which means not loved. Okay, the low people say, one thing we can get from this is you're ham, lo ha, right? So you're low down, dirty, no good if you're that type of ham. Because there's Abraham, right? Alpha, B, Ra meaning God instead of evil, Ham, who's said to be good. And then there's the bad Ham, right? Just like there's the good Jews and the bad Jews in the story. That's part of the argument being made here, right? There's no Jew or Gentile, it's just good and evil. Okay. For I will no longer show love to Israel, that I should at all forgive them. Yet I will show love to Judah, and I will save them not by bow, sword, or battle, or by horses and horsemen, but I, the Lord their God, will save them. After she had weaned Lo Ruhamah, Gomer had another son. And the Lord said, call him Lo Ami, which means not my people. So one of these people, okay, it was a daughter, okay, and she's called Lo Ruhamah, meaning not loved. The other is a son called Lo Ami, which means not my people. So again, the first one, right, was Jezreel, because they'll soon punish the house of Jehu for the massacre of Jezreel. Then there's the son, which means not loved. And there's this daughter, there's the daughter that means not loved, and there's the son that means not my people. So the argument is being made that if you don't do God's work, regardless if you're a Jew or not, that you're not the people of God. So that collective guilt is going to kick in, and you have to separate yourself from the masses and do what's right. Like David separating himself from the masses of Jews who didn't want to face Goliath, and he faced him. Like Jesus separating himself and the 12 disciples, right? If they wanted to, regardless of what people you're from, like it says in Psalm 45, you got to forget your people in your father's house and come to the house of God, the real alpha point, the rally point, which is me. Okay, verse 10. Yet the Israelites will be like the sand on the seashore, which cannot be measured or counted in the place where it was said to them, you are not my people. They will be called children of the living God. Now keep in mind, in Galatians 4, it helps us understand how to interpret this. It says, Jerusalem in the sky, okay, multiplies like the sand on the seashore in heaven. And Jerusalem in this world is sinful. So they're like Gog and Magog, whose souls are going to get burned, who are rotting in hell, those who remain behind, whether they're Jew or Gentile, all the inhabitants of the earth. These are points of references for the governing cities in the spiritual realm for those who do God's will, and on the earth for those who rebel against God. Okay, so again, it says, yet the Israelites will be like the sand on the seashore, which cannot be measured or counted, in the place where it was said to them, you are not my people. They will be called children of the living God, in truth in heaven and in a lie on earth. The people of Judah and the people of Israel will come together. They will appoint one leader and will come up out of the land, for great will be the day of Jezreel, the day of getting even with them for all the sins that they've done. And this is a formula and a model for the whole entire world. Again, okay, the Jewish people, in terms of their flesh, in terms of what you know them, what spirits you see in them, they're not the ones sitting on the throne. I am. And I'm not trying to rub it in or, insult people. This distinction needs to be made. And it says in Malachi, the last book in the Old Testament, that you should make the distinction. The distinction will be made. Those who are in the Spirit of God will help God make that distinction.